Welcome to Dave's Imaginations. Today, what the heck is this thing? Is D&D in trouble? All that and more. Stay with me. So one day, I was thumbing through Facebook. I love Facebook. I know there's a lot of people that don't like Facebook. I'm one that likes it. If you use it right, I think it's a good thing. I have a lot of my organization, a lot of the clubs, a lot of my interests are in Facebooks. Anyway, so I was going through Facebook, and I think it was Tiamat's Tavern Memes for D&D had a post for this contraption. It looked like a tower and with a bubble on it and had dice in it, just like I showed you. And I saw it and I said, what is that? And I clicked on the link and it took me into an Etsy shop for this dice popper. It's a dice popper like the old Trouble game. And my synapses are all popping and nostalgia's kicking in with the old Trouble game.
I'll give you trouble, a 6. Fun's a poppin', trouble's poppin', trying to win the race. Trouble's poppin', bubbles poppin' every place. Everybody's poppin', the poppin' win!
So I started looking at the internet. I went to Google. Like I said, one of my top 10 favorite free things is Google. I did a search for Google for dice popper, and I found two different dice poppers, and it turns out they're both made by the same person. One of them has an etched wall. I don't know how they did that. Maybe they use GIMP. I don't know. I don't use GIMP. I use Photoshop elements, and I'm not much of an artist as far as drawing. But the other version had geometric shapes around it, and I could conceive of how to build this. I have dabbled in 3D modeling in the past. It's been a while, but I've done it. Oh, I should back up. Recently, I did a top 10 free apps, free electronic resources for D&D, and glaring omission, I'm surprised no one put it in the comments, glaring omission of Facebook. Boy, I love Facebook. I'm in there all the time. I have a bunch of D&D groups, and I'm in there all the time. So I was in Facebook, saw the ad, jumped over, did a Google search for a dice popper. I found an Etsy shop. Now I could have just clicked on the Facebook link. Sometimes I get a little curious I don't know if I should be clicking on those Facebook links. I don't want to get spam with a whole bunch of stuff. But so I went to Google and I did a search for dice popper, and it came back same pictures as the Facebook post. So I went into the Etsy shop and I found this post, and I'll show it here. And it's like it was, yeah, so for $30 I could buy this thing, and I look at it and I could see, hey, this is 3D printed. I have a 3D printer, and so all I need is the plastic dome and whatever. It says it's spring activated, so I think I can make this. And the geometric I can handle. The creative, artistic part, not as much, right? So if someone knows how they did that skin on the wall, if they could tell me down in the comments, I'd be really curious. Is it GIMP? Is it some other program? I'm no Miguel Zavala, right? I can't create all these 3D images of little characters and creatures. Back in the day before the whole pandemic, when I was really doing tabletop, I had people at the house and I was playing with miniatures on the table. Those were the days. And that's the reason I got the 3D printer. I actually have a resin and a PLA printer, and I use those for printing miniatures and structures and buildings. But that has gone to the wayside as I've moved mostly digital now, as most of my groups in person, but there's at least one person that's always online. So we got an electronic. Anyway, back to the story. As I saw this for $30, and I said, I think I can build that. So then I went and I started searching for 3D modeling programs. Back in the day, I had learned how to use Fusion 360. I think it was a lot cheaper. I think there was a way you could get Fusion 360 on a student, and that expired. I used that up, whatever it is. Now it's a little bit too expensive for me. So I went and I found a different solution. I found Shaper 3D. Now, it's not free either. It does have a cost, but I'm on a 2-week trial period, which expires tomorrow. I think I'm gonna have to buy this thing because I was having too much fun with it. Anyway, so I get into this Shaper 3D and I start watching YouTube videos. Another of my free resources for D&D. is YouTube, and I started YouTubing on how to use Shaper 3. Now that's got nothing to do with D&D, other than you can make stuff with it, structures and buildings and such, which I've done in the past. Maybe someday I'll do a video on that. I'll show you all the buildings I've created. Anyway, so I got in there and I taught myself Shaper 3D, and here I can get into Shaper 3D, and I can show you. This is just a quick guide. You can see here, I open up the app, I draw a circle, I extrude it a little bit, and then I drew walls around it, and I extruded the walls, so now I got this little cup thing, right? And so that's just a little taste of what Shaper 3D is. Yeah, I can create the lid and all that, and I can save it. I can save it as STL file, and then I can export it to Cura, where I can build it up. And I think I could even show you. I could even show you here that I can open up I spent a lot of hours on this, right? Designing it, get it look just like I wanted it to. So I put a lot of time in it, and I've done many revisions. I think you can see I've got 5 revisions of this now. And so I built this thing with all the detail I wanted, spring loaded. And I designed this. Now, before I could design it, though, I needed to know exactly what my dimensions were. And so those dimensions were built off the plastic dome and the springs. So I had to find those first. And so, but I did a Google search for a plastic dome. And it turns out that plastic dome I found it on Amazon. It turns out it's actually a protective case for a security camera, outdoor security camera, and here you can see the dimensions of it, and you can see that was those dimensions are right on the Amazon page. I'll put the link in the doobly-doo down below, and so it was like $13, right? No big deal. Now compared to 30, now I probably by the end of this, I saved a little bit of money, but the joy was in the process of learning how to do it. So I got the bubble, and then I started looking at springs, and I thought, where am I going to get the spring? So I've got the cup, I got a plate, right? And I'm going to put some, what are they called, crenellations? I think that's what they call it, the top of the tower, right? Where they have the places where people can stand in between, right? The crenellations, I think that's what they're called. Anyway, so I designed all that, but now I need to know the springs. So I started thinking about where the springs are going to be. And at first I thought, maybe I know my weed whipper, right? That's a spring, and maybe that would work, because you want the right compression. That is a spring term. Compression, because you want that compressed down just the right amount, such that it will get to a nice low spot where you can pull this handle down and flip it up, or press the bubble down, right, and the dice will pop up. And so you want some compression there, so it'll pop back up. And so I thought, maybe the spring from a weed whip. I know you can buy replacements, one of those. And then so I went to Menards, our local hardware store, right? I'm sure all the box stores have it. And I started looking at the spring. I actually went to the lawn and garden area, and I found it, and it's like, maybe this will work. Then I went to hardware, and hardware had a whole drawer full of different springs, and that's where I found this spring. I'll put it up here. You can see the exact size and dimensions of it. Now, don't be fooled by the picture online. I'll put a link to the Menards exact product, but I'll tell you, the picture in the Menards link that I show you here, it doesn't look right. It doesn't look like what I bought. Now, the drawing, which I show here, I think the drawing is correct, and it does seem about right. And so with the spring and the bubble, I could then reverse engineer the dimensions of this tower, right? And so I spent a lot of time getting that just right, doing the floor, doing the base, I call it, and the walls, and then the plate, and then the crenellation that goes around that to make it look right. And I designed that all up in Shaper 3D, and then I saved that off to STL file. And I put it into Cura. Now, Cura is a slicer program, right? I have a Lulzbot Taz 6. It's a nice big one. I think it has an 18-inch plate, 18-inch high. It's a nice big square. I can do this. Popper itself, I think this was 150 millimeters, so inches about 25. So is that about 6 inches? Maybe. That might be 6 inches, maybe a little more, right? And then this is probably, I think that was 75, so that's 3 inches. This was probably 3, so it's a little bit 75 to 80 inches, so it's probably 6 inches by 3 inches. That might be about right. And so that's the size of the thing. And so I got that into the slice program, Cura, and like I said, I did a revision to, and here you can see I have all these different. I printed this thing probably 3 times by now, and different parts of it here. I can show you all the different parts I have, and the springs, and I could play with it. It was a lot of fun, right, to do this. And then when I put it together, one thing I haven't to mention is there's a piece of felt, right? I just took a piece of felt and I glued it right to the paddle. The paddle is what I call the thing that I push down. Here, I'll flip it a couple times for you. And so you can flip it, you can flip the little lever, you can lock the lever down into a trigger position and then release it, or you can just bop it, right? Bop it, just like the Trouble game. Yeah, it's not just like the Trouble game, is it? Because in that Trouble game, they had some sort of metal piece that when you push the globe down, it would compress and it had that really satisfying pop. And this one, pop's not quite the same, but it does agitate those dice just fine. So between the 3 of them, now going back to the Etsy shop, I don't want to cut this guy too much. I am putting my design out on Thingiverse, and I'll put a link to that as well. That was a journey too. I'd never done that before, put anything out on Thingiverse. So this is my first thing I've ever put on Thingiverse. But I did design it from scratch. I reversed engineered it from the pictures that I saw on the Etsy shop of this guy's shop, and but you're gonna have to figure out, if you don't buy the exact springs, you're gonna have to figure out how to do those, and it wasn't easy. And his is better. I give him credit. This person credit, because he actually has a door that's really nifty. I didn't take the time to figure out reverse engineer that door. He can store his dice in the lower part of that tower, and I think that's a good innovation. Mine doesn't have that, at least not yet. All right, I'm on version 5 already, and mine doesn't have that, but it does have the ability to pull those down. And my top, the crenellation part, does come off if I want it to. And right now with my current version, I can lower that lever and slide the dice in and out. I just don't store it in the tower. So that's where I got it. I got it from looking at those pictures, and was able to reverse engineer it. I think it came. I'm pretty happy with myself. Pretty proud of myself for learning how to do it and figuring it all out, and it works pretty darn well. What do you think? Is it worth it? It's a waste of time? How about the Trouble game? You saw that commercial. Did that bring any nostalgia? Did you ever play the Trouble game? I did. I know I did when I grew up. Me and my brothers, we played that. I'm sure we did. And so that is my this. So what is this thing? This is a dice tower wannabe. It's a different design. It's not your typical dice tower. It's a Trouble dice tower, right? And I hope. Tell me what you think. Do you like it? Would you use it? Would you put it on a table? The felt does make it a little bit quieter, but it's not as quiet as just rolling a dice. It might be a pain, right? It might be easier to just pick up and roll dice, but I think it's pretty darn cool. And I was pretty happy with how it came out. It wasn't easy, but I'm pretty happy with how it came out. So let me know. What do you think? Is it cool? I think it is. So thanks for watching. If you don't mind, take a moment to hit that like and subscribe. I'd appreciate it. And leave a comment below. I love comments. I'll respond to any comment that requires a comment, a response. And until next time, stay out of trouble. Take care. Bye.